I'd like to call this Law Enforcement, Public Safety, Health, Welfare Committee meeting to order. It's February the 20th, 2024, and it's 5:34 p.m. I'd like to have a moment of silence. Mr. Root, if you'd like to lead us in the invocation.
Pray with me if you'd like to. Our dear Father, our Creator and Sustainer of our lives, we are grateful. And help us to be more grateful, to really appreciate the many gifts you've given us. Not least among those is our lives and ability to breathe and move and do business, all the wonderful things that are part of being human and living in Oconee County. I pray that this meeting will be blessed by your touch as we are, that you'd guide the decisions that are made, the information that's given, and just give us your wisdom. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to have a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I'll lead us. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next on the agenda is approval of October 3rd, 2023 regular minutes. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 2 votes.
And for our discussion items this evening, leading off is a law enforcement update by our Sheriff Mike Crenshaw.
Good evening, Council. I did want to come before you and give you an update on a couple of items. I know we didn't get the ballistic windshield on the agenda for tonight. It's my understanding it'll be on the next agenda in 2 weeks. But we did our due diligence on that to make sure there was a couple of bids that come in on that. We did our due diligence to make sure that we got the best one for us and the quickest return on the product when it becomes available. So we feel very confident in that. I wanted to kind of share with you as well as we start the budget process and continuing to think about officer safety. Prior to Lucas Watts getting shot, we were actually looking at budgeting this year for replacement of our Glock pistols. About every 10 years, we usually try to upgrade those. We start having some problems with them after that period of time. So we were also thinking, and of course this upped our thinking on it, is to explore laser sights, red dot, what they call red dot sights. They also have now green dot. You can get green dot or red dot sights, which certainly improves your accuracy. Looking at our schools, every deputy has a patrol rifle, so looking at as well of upgrading those rifles and putting a laser sight on those. You think of our school resource officers, a long hallway, laser sight, 100 yards. No problem. They should be very accurate with a laser sight on that. As well as there's a plate that you can purchase that actually goes in the bulletproof vest. Our bulletproof vests are rated to stop a certain level of rounds, but plate obviously stops the higher rounds, if you will. So all that total, new pistols, sights, lights, sights for the rifles, plus the plates for the body armor, we're going to be looking somewhere around $190,000 for officer safety. So as we move forward, as you move forward, considering further funding for ballistic windshields, for additional patrol cars or or anybody else for that matter, I don't want you to forget about our deputies and what we need for their officer safety as well. So just wanted to share that with you. Of course, we're looking at our current budget as well, for funding some of this we may be able to get out of our current budget, so we're gonna be looking at that. I've given you a yearly update. That's something you'll start getting every year, as part of our accreditation process, that we'll have to issue that yearly report. Some of those numbers, especially toward the back, are part of the standards that we have to provide our citizens as part of accreditation. But the numbers for last year, you can look at that and go through them. But something that, looking at the data, something that was interesting to me in South Carolina, I look at a lot of the SLED data as well. But in South Carolina, our prison population in 2007 had just over 24,000 inmates in South Carolina prisons. And that was kind of the peak, 2007, 2008, 2009. Last year in South Carolina, we had 16,539 people in South Carolina prisons. So since 2009 to 2023, we've gone down about 27%, from 24,000 down to 16,000 in our prisons. Our murders in South Carolina during that same period of time have gone from 293 up to 514. So we've seen murder go up across our state, and people in state prisons, the number of people in state prisons go down. Let's look at Oconee County. 10 years ago, we were averaging 140 people in our jail every day. Last year, we averaged 203. So we actually have increased the number of people in jail here in Oconee County from 140 10 years ago to an average of 203 every day. A lot of factors go into this, but one result of that, in 2013, our violent crime rate was about 55 violent crimes for every 10,000 citizens. Last year, we had 36. So our violent crime has continued to go down in Oconee County, as well as property crime. 10 years ago, we were averaging almost 300 burglaries and larcenies for every 10,000 citizens. Last year, we averaged 239 burglaries and larcenies for every 10,000 citizens. So to me, there's a direct correlation to that, just looking at that. Crimes committed by juveniles across our state are on the increase as well. But just some data, that I wanted to share with you. And all during that time in the past 10 years, our population has grown by about 6,000 people. So, that's the results of funding that you're by increasing funding and increasing deputies, increasing salaries. That's the results of you all doing that. So I want to thank you for that. That's the difference. That's when we see crime going down. I've always said that's the best measure of whether or not law enforcement is being effective. Is the crime rate. So we're certainly excited about the direction that's going. I wanted to share that with you. I know we cramped for time, so I'm going to be brief this evening. But do you have any questions of anything that?
Can you give us a brief update on Officer Watts?
Yes,
Just
sir.
a brief summary.
Officer Watts was shot 3 months ago, November the 16th. So this past week was 3 months ago. Last week I was talking with his family on the telephone, and I got to hear something that I hadn't heard when they put him on speakerphone, and that was, "Hey, Sheriff." So that was a special moment for me. So he continues to make progress, but Corporal Watts still has a long way to go. He has not walked yet, and so they're continuing to work him in therapy. But they brought a wheelchair in for when he gets to come home, and he got upset with his wife, and she said, Lucas, what's wrong? He said, I'm going to walk. So he's very determined. So he's working hard. So we just ask you to continue to keep him in your prayers. But we just appreciate the support. Thank you.
Mike, at that luncheon the other day, you mentioned that he doesn't have any brain damage. I mean, for us, his thinking and all that goes. It's not,
It doesn't appear. I think his short-term memory is somewhat affected right now. But no, Mr. Hart, if he knows you, if you was to walk in there, he would look at you and say, hey, Mr. Hart, or hey, Glenn. He knows everyone.
I think that's important for people to know, because most times if you get hit in the head with something, sometimes it jars your brains around and you bite yourself after that.
Right now, don't know, when he's gonna be released, but at some point, maybe, right now they're saying late, or the earliest would be late March. And then he'll still have to have probably some home alterations and things done at that point, depending on how he does. But biggest prayer right now is for him to walk. So they're working with him on that. It's something he's got to learn. So
I'd like to make one more comment. You read in the Bible about the miracles. I think that his life and him being saved is a miracle that we all got to witness, that a present day miracle. I don't know how many people realize that, but it struck me as that very much.
there's no doubt in my mind that there was a miracle performed by God in his life. And, so based on what we saw and what we observed that day, I never thought I'd hear the words, hey, Sheriff, come out of his mouth. So it's just amazing the progress that God has performed so far.
Thank you.
I do have one other question, and this may be irrelevant. You talked about officer safety and upgrading the ballistic vest and upgrading your weapons, which is great. Have you considered, or is it even feasible to consider, I know you see police officers in New York City, they're wearing riot gear, they got ballistic type helmets on. Have you considered anything like that? So once you arrive after a pursuit, that might be something else that could possibly help?
We do have some of that equipment, especially our SWAT officers that's assigned to different areas. But yeah, that's something that certainly we're open to. Anything you consider, you got to consider, are they going to use it or are they going to wear it? These plates, years ago, the reason we hadn't considered them, it was heavy steel and, that they just wouldn't wear it. But now technology has changed and it weighs, I think, a little over a pound. It's a new type of technology, material that's being made. So, and I'm sure that's the same with the helmets as well. But we do have some of those already that we've got in supply. So it's just, sometimes you don't have time to do that. But if time warrants that, then certainly they try to equip themselves.
I'd like to see it made available, whether they can use it or have time to use it, is at least available to you.
Yes, sir. A lot of equipment like that, sometimes we're able to get through the military surplus at no charge. We've gotten a lot of equipment, helmets and things like that through the military.
We appreciate what y'all do.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, let me get my specs on here. Solid waste update.
We'll try to make this as brief as possible here real quick. First of all, we want to thank y'all, most of all, for what the council has done for salaries for equipment operators and for our staff at solid waste. For the last couple of months, we've been at full staff for the first time in 3.5 years. And now I think that allocates straight to salaries and things of that nature. As we move forward here, just want to There we go. Give you an update just on some numbers here. I know it's a lot here. Want to give you, as moving forward, going into the budget season, a lot of things that's going on in Oconee County. You know more than anybody that we've got a lot of growth in Oconee County, around Oconee, around Clemson area. You notice, going back a few years, fiscal year 15, you notice our solid waste for our household garbage was at 37,000 some odd tons. The next year, it jumped to 39.3. That was when the pier opened up a good many of their houses over in that area for college students. That was a major player. Fiscal year 18, Hartwell Village came on, and a few other odds and ends came on into the county. We jumped another 4,000 ton of material. Going into fiscal year 21 and 22, we had a company come into Oconee County, it's a plastic recycler is what they went by, but they threw away close to 6,000 ton of plastic a year through our transfer station. They have now left and been bought out by another company, and that number has kind of reduced back down to a decent number, but we have steadily grown in that area. And as all these other subdivisions come on, the new developments coming in, that number is going to continue to grow. Back up. Yeah, there we go. For our household trash, through our recycle centers, if you'll, this here kind of gives you an idea which centers are busier. Our Strawberry Farm Center is still our busiest center by far. It takes in the most garbage and is up there in the recyclables amount as well. Our number 10 center out in the Ebenezer community, they're second. That kind of gives you an idea of how many cars, how many people coming through each day. And if you notice, a lot of our sites are relatively small, but they're growing. Just an overview of our revenue that's coming in based off of from our transfer station for the landfill. If you notice, our landfill revenues have continued to increase. Our recyclables, they're up and down. It fluctuates with the markets on the materials. In fiscal year 22, the materials were at a high. Last year, a lot of materials was down, but they are starting to come back up. But they have not reached the area they were back pre-COVID numbers. In fiscal year 22 or 23, it was decided to allow private residential haulers to dump at no charge. Just want to give you an update on what that brought about. You'll notice they started out in fiscal year 19 is when we started getting more of the larger companies, Evolve, L&M, Universal. Mr. Morris and Mr. Winkler, they have been around since the 90s. They haul only in Oconee County. If you'll notice, their numbers have kind of either maintained or have decreased, while these other companies have increased by substantial amounts. Last year, we let $209,000 worth of material go to them, coming through our transfer station. It's expected this year's number to be around 247. So that's just an idea, to give you an idea where that's going. Kind of give you an idea on how they're growing. I remember when they had some of the meetings, they were talking about it was difficult for them to grow their businesses. If you notice, when they in fiscal year 19, this number here is how many tons was brought in to the transfer station. By fiscal year 23, at the end of it was 3,528 tons. They've gone up over 152%, where our small haulers have either declined or some of them have lost a lot of business. Ms. Brock wanted to show you kind of idea, compare that to our city's residentials. Some of those numbers were given out then as well. Notice Seneca here, and you can look all the way down, their numbers have kind of went up. But around the 20, this area, some of these numbers did increase just due to COVID and a lot of people being at home, ordering things online, just taking a lot more trash being around their homes. And we've started seeing that, and that was all the way across the state. Those numbers, our numbers, all correlated about the same. Seneca, in that same time frame, they grew approximately, I think it was about 28%. Walhalla was about 3%, Westminster was around 9%, and West Union was around like 20%. And you can see the subdivisions that came in and the businesses that are around those areas that attracted just residential trash in those neighborhoods. This one has a lot of information. The biggest thing to take from here is from the percent for the recycle centers and the percent for the cities and the commercial. This is what a lot of people ask, well, why ain't recycling much greater in Oconee County? If you notice, from our recycle centers, we handle about 31% of the trash that's brought into our transfer station. The cities handle around 25 to 30%, and then residential or the commercials are anywhere from 34, 40%. And that's been if you look through it for the last 20 years or so, it's been about a 30-30-40 split any which way you go. So, and now the private haulers, they're handling about 6% to 7% of that waste. Talk about a little bit about our equipment at our landfill. We are getting into some areas of concern. Several times last year, we were down all three pieces of our main equipment. We're actually down, as of today, down to one piece, our Bomag is the only thing actually running. And it's got a major issue that we're getting some quotes on. But to give you an idea, and you can read the thing on this, we purchased it in 2016. If you look back at some of our numbers, the landfill was only doing around 25,000 tons at a time per year. Now we're up above 50 to 56,000 ton a year. We have grown substantially. And during this time frame, our current compactor has compacted more in the last 8 years than our previous two compactors did combined. Just that's how much waste is coming through the landfill. And so just looking at that thing, we have averaged about $41,000 in repairs each year for the last couple of years on that machine. And we've got some substantial, the wheels on it are getting very wore out. And just to have them repaired is about $185,000. We're trying to find out what a price of a set of new ones will be. The last time the set of new ones were actually cheaper than, or actually more expensive than getting them repaired. So that's a concern. A new cost, the compactor would be around $1.3 million, and depending on lead time, somewhere 6 to 9 months to get one in. Our track loader was purchased and actually arrived on scene in March of '08. It's 16 years old. It's been constantly having issues with leaking a differential final drives, and we got an issue with it again now. It's hard to get original parts or replacement parts. They can do repairs, but some of the issues that come about is that if you need an actual part that has gotten torn up, you may have to go to a salvage yard somewhere and try to find one, and go from there. A lot of information has been given in the past year about our grinder. It's constantly going down. We had it back up and running for about 2 weeks, and we had another motor go out and a drive shaft go through a fan, I believe, motor. Now we're waiting on that part. So it's constantly being replacing one part after another in the past year. There's some of the numbers we've got on there. Lead time on replacing one is 6 months to 1.5 years, depending on what manufacturer you may potentially get. The first two are detrimental to our pivotal to our operation. The landfill cannot run without the compactor or the track loader. This here, we can put brush into the landfill if need so, but this here helps, as you can read up there. Since 2008, we kept 105,000 ton of material out of the landfill. Another concern coming along is our transfer station. It is now 26 years old. We was originally permitted for 300 ton a day, and we've been constantly knocking on that door. We're on our busy days. We have around 2 busy days a week. That's extreme. We can hit 275 easy. When it was first built, it was averaging about 100 120 ton a day, somewhere in that neighborhood, with a peak of around 200 tons, and that's even around holidays. Now holidays, last year we hit 377 tons after the 4th of July, in one day. So we've been constantly going over that 300 ton limit, on several days. And if you've seen pictures or been out there, it's a mountain of garbage, and it's just, they're pushing and can't really keep up during those time frames. So something to consider as we continue to grow. Sooner or later, that transfer station will have to be replaced, upgraded. It has a compactor type system, which is not the best system. When the compactor goes down, we're down. We can't load trailers, we can't, we're down. Power goes out, we're down. The best system is to load from the top, and that's what we would look for, load open top trailers. Our recycle centers, we've got several, if you look back at those numbers, we've got several of them they're extremely busy. Our Ebenezer, Salem, Metromont, and Richland facilities are very busy, 3 or 4 days of the week. They can average up to anywhere, on a weekend, some of them can hit 1,600 cars a day. And so they are very busy. That's something we probably need to consider, upgrading some of those as far as their size. Real quickly here on the C&D, if you notice, I said it has been growing. In fiscal year 16, we took in 22,763 tons. In fiscal year 23, we took in 46,665. The year before that, we were closer to 50. However, the biggest thing is our commercial tonnage is what's being greatly increased. We're getting all the extra coming from around the Clemson area coming in, the growth inside Oconee County. Residential tonnage has been relatively constant for probably right at 20 years. It stays around a 9 to 11,000 ton mark, somewhere in that neighborhood. One thing we see is our fees, and at the landfill, if you're a resident of Oconee County and you're bringing it from your home, there's no charge. All businesses, contractors, property, we charge fees. We do offer waivers for a contractor who has a business and they want to bring something from their home. We require them to sign a waiver saying it is coming from their home, roughly how many loads, and we get a lot of those kind of requests. And a lot of those requests are not legitimate. There'll be somebody saying it's coming from their home, and then you pass down a work site down the road, and that's where they're hauling from. So we do have that issue. Another scenario we run into is about how much land somebody can cut clear. A lot of people have a 25-acre tract. They've owned it for years. They're paying agriculture prices on it, or taxes on it, and then they want to clear it and bring 30, 40, 50 ton at a time to the landfill, and they have designs to either turn it into a campground or something else that turns it from a residential community to a bit of commercial property. And their taxes don't cover those kind of costs. So going from there, the average resident in Oconee County brings less than a half a ton, or about 1,000 pounds a year, even less than that. And going from there, it's something to consider. Several counties in the state have gone to give a certain amount for free or at no charge to a resident. It's covered under their basis taxes, but if you get past that, then everybody has to pay. That may be something you want to consider down the road as we're growing. We don't card people now, so they can actually come in from the Pickens County, roll right in, say it's coming from my house, and it's literally coming from their house, but from a different county. And we take it at no charge because we don't just have time to sit there. But they have means that we can scan either driver's license of that nature to find out where they're actually from. There are some of the funding mechanisms throughout the state, and even the southeast. We currently do millage and tipping fees, and we're covered under as Department of County. Other places, millage only. There are some in the state that have a commercial or residential solid waste fee that just covers, blankets everybody. And some for infrastructure, and then some, a combination of all the above. So there's things to look at. We've got a lot of equipment. We've got a lot of things we'll talk about during the budget process as we continue this year. But that's where we are kind of right now. Any questions? I know we're way past time here, so.
Any questions?
Well,
I've got questions, but due to time, I'll have to put those questions together and get back with you.
That'll be fine. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.